Good morning, everyone. Hi there, this is Steph. I'd like to welcome you to the Simply Rhino webinar this morning, brought to you along with our friends at TDM Solutions SLU. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at using the popular Rhino 3D plugin RhinoGold to bring a traditional Celtic knot design to life. We'll be demonstrating how using the modern CAD techniques complements your current workflow. The RhinoGold we'll be looking at today is version 6.0, which launched on the 1st of May, and we'll be using that version in this webinar. Our presenter is Pedro. Pedro is the RhinoGold CAD manager at TDM Solutions SLU. If anyone's got any questions regarding anything you see during the webinar, then please type them in the question panel and send them over to us. We're recording today's webinar so it can be viewed again at your leisure, and we'll be sharing this on the Simply Rhino website in the next few days. So I'm going to hand over now to Pedro for the main presentation. Over to you, please, Pedro.
Thank you, Stephanie, and also want to thank all the Simply Rhino team. It's a pleasure to be here again for another webinar, and of course, thank to all the attendees. And let's start with this Celtic knots bangle. So the idea to start creating a bangle, I'm going to use the ellipse tool under the drawing tab. So this allows me to create a curve. So I'm going to use the front view as reference, and with the ellipse tool I need first to define the ellipse center. So we can see in the command line, so I need to pick a point to define the center. So I define the central point, and then I will define the measure. So I want in this case radius 33, so I just type in the command line 33, press enter, and I have my first distance, so I just pick the point to define the direction, and of course then the other distance I will type 22, enter again. So this will be the result. My ellipse will define the bangle size. From here I will start with under the jewelry tab with the dynamic profile tool. This tool will allow me to select a curve, so we can see in the side panel I just need to define on the curve on the selection box. So I just press enter after adding the curve, and then I will be able to define the profiles and measures I want to use. So in this case I want to use 2 millimeters height, and I want to use also width 12 millimeters. So I just type in the side panel. So the last step I need to define is the angle. So this is not the position I want. I just need to rotate. So you will see in here that I have the horizontal rotation option. So I just need to start defining the rotation angle. In this case, I can see that it will be minus 90 degrees. And from here we have the model exactly as I want. The last thing, I have the measures. The last thing I want to change is the profile. I want the profile. In this case I'm going to use the profile number 4, so I just double click to apply this profile, and as you can see now I have my bangle defined. So I just click OK to apply the changes. As you can see, this is the bangle shape, but of course I want to apply on the outside surface. I want to apply some Celtic knots. So to do it, I'm going first under the modeling tab to extract. We have under the cap submenu, we have the tool extract surface, and I'm going to extract the outside surface, this one. I will make sure the copy option is yes, so I just will keep my original object, and I will create a copy from this outside surface. So I just press enter, and now I will use this surface. I will make it flat to define my Celtic knots, and then I'm going to use it again to place the Celtic knots along the bangle. So we will find under the Transform tab in the Dynamic Flow surface submenu the Smash tool. So I just will define my surface I want to smash, and now, as you can see, I have the surface on the C-plane. So this will allow me to place in here the Celtic knots, and of course I will just probably rotate 90 degrees, and I'm going to the center, probably a little bit in this direction. So I'm going now to apply my Celtic knots on this flat surface. To do it, under the Artistics tab, we will find the Celtic knots tool. So I just click on Celtic knots, and as you can see, now in here I have a few options. So the idea is, in this design area, I can pick some squares, and then I can choose any of these elements to apply it on the selected square. So for instance, I can start with this one. I just drag to the selected square, and the workflow will be this. So I just select the square where I want to apply the element, and then I click on the element and I drag it to here. So I can do in here, for instance, this one. And of course, the idea is to play. We have all these different options to play to define the Celtic knots exactly as we need. So I'm going to use this one on this square, and now I can also select several at the same time. So for instance, in here I will use this one, and with all selected, it will be applied to all at the same time. In the middle, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to use this one, and the same in here. So I just select the squares where I want to apply the knots, and now I just need to define probably in here, if I need to change, I just select, and I can change to no, I will keep this one, and I will add a new one here. So this one I will apply on this square, then another one in here, and now I just click and drag to apply it. So in this case, to change, I just select and apply a new one. And finally, this one I'm going to use this option. So as you can see now in the design area, I have the elements I want. So this is the result I'm looking for. And you will see that we have different styles available to apply our Celtic knots. So I just can create the inline from the Celtic knots. I can create the inline but in 3D. I can create the outline, or even directly the solid object, or round or square profile. In this case, what I'm going to use is the outline. So I just want the outline curves to make the extrusion. So I just select outline, and then I choose the option add to document. So I can just pick any point to add my Celtic knots to the document. Let me change to shaded display mode. So now the idea is to adjust the scale of these curves. So you will see that this is a group. I can use the gumball. Remember, if the gumball is turned on, it will be displayed automatically in the center of the selected object. So I will scale my gumball like this. Just make sure if we use only the red dot, it will be one direction scale, but if we press shift, it will be 3 directions. So what I'm going to do now is to place it in the side, and from here I will use these curves to make my extrusion. So select my group of curves, and under the modeling tab we have the extrude tool. So I'm going to use the extrude to define the solid thickness. To do it, I just define, I need to make sure in the command line the both sides is yes, it will make our actually just need to the top part, but we can do both sides, no problem. And of course solid must be yes as well. So I want to generate a solid, so I just can type directly the extrusion distance, in this case 0.6 millimeters, enter. And as you can see, now I have my solids. I will group them to be easier for the selection, so drawing tab and group tool. So now they are a group. I can even, this is sharp edge, I can even, sorry, I can make the fillet. So modeling tab and variable fillet tool, probably it will be easier in the right view for the selection. I just need to select now the edges. I want to fillet. And in this case, let me just repeat to adjust the fillet angle. I will type first the fillet angle, maybe 0.15, enter, and I will select my edges, enter, and now I will apply the fillet to the selected edges. So at this point it's calculating the fillet to all the edges. Let's go back to the perspective to see the results. So this is the result I was looking for. I'm just going to create under the transform tab, I can create my horizontal symmetry to have in both sides. And now I will use the flow along surface tool to place again my Celtic knots along my bangle. So I will use under the transform tab, I have dynamic flow surface and the flow surface. So in this case I just need to flow objects along the surface. The dynamic flows surface will allow me to flow some objects and just move others. So in this case I just use the flow surface tool. So the first step, as you can see in the command line, is to select the objects to flow. Then I press enter. And then I need to pick the base surface. So in this case, the base surface is this one. And then the target surface. So the target surface will be the outside surface we extracted previously. So at this moment, the Celtic knots are being applied on my surface. So let's see the result. This is the result. As you can see, the idea is to use the flat surface as reference, and of course with the flow along surface will allow us to place my object on the target surface. So in this case I can hide this, and probably in the selecting my group in the front view I can use the symmetry to place this in the bottom part of the bangle. So in this case vertical symmetry, and I go back to the perspective, as you can see. So this is the result. So the idea now it's ready. I can just probably make under the modeling tab, make one last fillet. So variable fillet tool, and in this case 0.3 millimeters. I'm going to fillet this edge from the bangle, so the same in the other side. And now it looks good. So probably in this case when the fillet doesn't work is because the fillet angle probably is too big, so I can undo and repeat with a small fillet angle. So let me type next radio, for instance 0.2 millimeters, and now I just select my edges to apply the fillet. So here we go, and now it looks good. Let me just define one render. So just once we are here, I'm going to do the render for this model. So I'm just going to the render tab, and I'm going to use the render studio tool. So probably I'm going to use a different position for the render. In the right view I will rotate the bracelet in this case like this for the render position, and I will use the Render Studio. So Render Studio in the Render tab, just opening the Render Studio in the side panel, and in here I will be able to apply my materials. So let me go to metals. In here we have yellow gold. So we have yellow gold polish. So I will apply to the Celtic knots the yellow gold polish. Let me choose something lighter like this one, double click, and then on the bracelet I will use sandblast. So I can use polish, and in here I have the sandblast. Just double click to apply the sandblast, and now I'm going to define the render position. I can even go to the ground option and let's use for instance black reflective. So just double click and the ground will be automatically apply it. And now defining the position, go to the second tab to the render, define the resolution, in this case resolution environment, and I just click on render to start calculating the render for the bracelet. So as you can see, the render starts with some noise, and now it will, with the passes, will start cleaning the image, so we can stop the render any moment we feel it's good enough. So this is the idea. The exercise is really simple. We use dynamic profile, which is a very common tool in RhinoGold, as well as the Celtic knots, and just finish with a render. As you can see now, start looks better. Probably with a few more passes will be enough to have a good looking image. So this is the idea for today's webinar. I'm just going to finish now my render. I can stop any moment. Of course, if I don't stop, it will stop by the 500 passes as I defined previously. Probably I don't need to wait so much. We have at the moment 85 or 95 passes, and it's looking good already. I could stop now, so I just stop, and I can save my image. Before I have this image editor, which I can adjust my contrast, brightness, and so on. But I will use the original image and just define the name, file format, and the location where I want to save it. So in this case, Celtic Bangle, save it, and ready. Okay, so this is the idea for today. I think it's a very easy one. This is also the brand new RhinoGold 6 interface, so you will see that it's very similar to the previous versions. Just the colors are darker now, but of course we have available the default RhinoGold light interface as always. But also this new version, we have a few new tools, of course. So there will be other opportunities to show also the news in this version. Let me know any questions you may have.
Thank you, Pedro. That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I haven't had any questions come through so far, but if anyone does have any following this, then please drop us a line, and either myself or Pedro will be able to get back to you. So brilliant. Thank you to everybody who joined us today, and mainly a big thank you, of course, to you, Pedro, and your team at TDM.
Thank you.
We'll be back hopefully soon with some new webinars in the future. So keep an eye on the Simply Rhino website for those. We'll be posting a recording of this webinar later on today, and I'll make sure that everyone who's attended gets a link to that. And hopefully we'll see you all again very soon. So thank you very much to everybody, and mainly to Pedro. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye, everybody.